I think I got a good one for you today. So, we were able to finish a nice big chunk of the first part of the battle system over the last 5-6 weeks since I made my last video. I think you're really going to like what we have going for this RPG. If you're new, my name's Chris. I make games and I make videos about making games. Let's check out what's going on right now with this thing. Alright, first things first, we got a new map going on. Reason I put a new map together for testing was I wanted a better map to battle monsters on, and then I also want to do some stuff with the environment for like, you know, sometimes you want to draw specific stuff. I wanted to work on my trees, which I know that doesn't look great. Yeah, we worked on this on my last, I did a live stream like the other week. We worked on this here. And I made these kind of go through the same thing. I'm still working on all the layering and everything, you can see. We'll clip through it a bit, right? If you remember from the last video we did, we had this camera thing that we built out, and you can see that's in effect here. So I applied the same thing that we went over in the last video to this new map, and I think it's really working out. There are times where the camera looks a little too wobbly to me. I don't know if it's fighting with the multiple sets of instructions I'm giving it. So there's room to refine it, but it's pretty cool. I do like that it makes everything feel more cinematic. If I come down here, you can see it zooms in a lot. I'm gonna do some stuff in the next video or two with the ocean and making waves and stuff. And this area zooms in a lot for another reason. There's another thing I wanted to test, which is a fishing system. I don't know if I'm going to get to that like in the next couple months or what, but I think it would be really fun. Every RPG seems to have a fishing game, so it feels like I have to. I want to do a cooking game too. I have a lot of ideas for that. Let's go check out this crab monster that I flew by earlier. And I'm going to show you something really cool. So, oh wait, you saw that sword glitch? I need to fix that. It's like my last movement glitch that I have. If you remember, we were dealing with some movement glitches. I figured out almost all of them. I think all of them. There's like a drawing order problem. This crab really wants to fight me, so hang on a second. Let me show you this. So, right now, I call this the field map that we're on, right? The field map is before the battle, right? So we're going to do like a turn-based Final Fantasy style battle system, like a Final Fantasy 6 or 7 or 9, one of those. But I'm going to put action elements in, so kind of similar, but not really like the recent Clara Obscura Expedition 33 game. A little more similar to Xenogears, however you say it. That's a big piece of what I have in my mind. And when I wanted to start working on the battle system, I wanted to jump right into that part. I didn't. Instead, I did the front half more. It just seemed more logical to work on that part first. So, check this out real quick. So, this is a crab monster. Oh, see that? So, he takes damage. The orange text was a critical hit. All this is real numbers. So, the player stats are done and functional. The monster stats are done and functional. There's a damage algorithm. There's a magic damage algorithm, even though I'm not using it. And obviously, there's a critical hit algorithm, which will take the player's luck into account, but right now it's just a base chance. So, let's see. Oh, yeah, and I redid these sword strikes as well. I'm going to add a sound. I'm going to do the sound myself. Let's see if I do it good. Just ha! Yeah! Ha! Like that. Yeah, something like that. Right? Alright. Okay, that part was a little glitchy, but I didn't finish that. I was working on that yesterday. I didn't finish the transition in time. But I couldn't wait anymore. I had to show you what I'm working on here. This is sort of like the layout of the battle. I can't really do anything yet, but this is the important part to note. When I entered the battle with Crab Monster, the game went ahead and it said, hey, I'm fighting Crab Monster, so we're going to start a battle now, and give me a list of the possible formations or encounters that might happen if I start a battle with a Crab Monster. So, if you think about like a Final Fantasy game, and maybe you're in one particular area, and you get into an encounter with something, and this is with other games too, just think it's not always the thing, you're not always fighting just the thing that you ran into on the map, right? So it could be a different set of monsters, or it could be a crab and some slimes, which I have, or just a crab, or two crabs, right? So that's kind of how that works. It goes and looks it up, it gets the monsters, it gets the real sprites, it gets the stats. So this is good to go, right? Right now, I have to start doing all the attacking and stuff next. But my player has real stats behind him, and the monster has real stats behind it. And it knows I entered into a battle with this monster. It even knows those attacks that I did before we got into this battle will be applied to the whole group of monsters. So if I hit them with like 70% damage, then that's going to get applied to the group. I'm taking that, basically I'm taking that from Persona or Metaphor. Like, I really like the way that they handle the field stuff, and I even want to make it so if the monsters are really like weak compared to your level, then you just kind of one-shot them. I think that's a great way of handling like monsters that have become too weak to be interesting to fight. I want to show you a couple more things about the monsters next. Alright, so let's take a look at some stuff in the editor. This here is the universal monster node. Not like Frankenstein or Dracula. It's a monster node that I use for every monster. I guess there's going to be enemies that aren't monsters, not to get too into that, right? But you're going to have a lot of human and stuff. I guess those aren't monsters, but I'm sticking with the name monster. So, how I designed this was I have all the stats here in an export variable, and I have, oh, this error's driving me crazy. When's the next version of Godot coming out? Not soon enough. Okay. Lost Legion is the monster name. There's a class. Right now the class doesn't do anything. The plan was that it would control the weaknesses, right? Weak against fire, or holy, or whatever the elements are, right? For now, watch this. So I'm going to change Lost Legion to Rock Crab. Okay? That's the crab that we found down there. Alright? I'm going to run the scene. And when we come up here, he should be Rock Crab. Very cool. And I'll hit him again. Alright. And it should load an encounter right about now. Alright. And you can see, there he is. Back to the editor. This error. Change the name back. Lost Legion. Alright, let's go check it out. And now he's this guy again. And so something to take note. Stats are different, right? So the damage numbers you can see are much higher on him because the defense is different. And then you can also see the formation group here is totally different. So why don't we go a little deeper into how these stats actually look? First, the player stats. So the player stats look like this right now. They're stored into the actual party member. It's not all done, but it's mostly done. So they'll be stored into the party member that this matches, and then this also, like, whoever is the leader, it pulls their stats. So right now I only have one character, but I'm planning for the future. That's why I built this. So it says, hey, who's the party leader? I'm going to get the party leader stats for the field map section, right? Because that's the character you're controlling and attacking with. So, makes total sense. These stats, I think, are pretty standard, and they may not be final. So, I'll just go down the list real quick. This error is so annoying. Alright. My level, what's my level? Well, I guess, what's my name? Status effects, do I have any? Am I incapacitated? No. Level. What experience points do I have accumulated? I haven't done any work yet with like the actual gaining levels, but you'll see my monsters do have an experience value assigned for when they're killed. And so, alright. Max HP, current HP, MP, current MP, strength, intelligence, vitality, and this is actually defense. Spirit. Oh yeah, you can see my comments of what the things are. Resistance, speed, accuracy, and luck. This is a fairly standard set, and I may change it. Here are also the weapon statistics that get combined with the strength and all of that. And like I said, I've done like the damage for physical and magic, but I don't have any magic attacks yet. But at least, you know, the groundwork is there. The moves, I'm not too sure how to store them yet, so I want them to learn the moves over time. Similar, think Final Fantasy 6, 7, or 9, where I'm going to use the equipment that you equip. So this is really just like Final Fantasy 9. And if I remember right, it's been like 20 years or more since I played it. Where you get a value such as like ability points or something at the end of battle when you get your experience points. And then this goes through some multiplier for how quick you learn the skill. So when you remove the equipment, does the skill stay with you permanently? That's the system I want to try, at least first. That's it for the player stats. Let's look at the whole, much more interesting mess of the monster stats. Alright, let's check out some JSON files for the monster stats. So, here we go. Here's the Crab and the Lost Legion. These two are part of the formations that you see when the thing loads. So these are pretty much exactly the same as the player stats. We got a name, which is this is the name that I used earlier that I just changed, and then it knew the sprite and the stats to use, right? This is his level. Experience rewarded, right? It's different than how the player has it, because the player is tracking the total experience so it knows when the levels are. And then this dude is just saying, this is the experience I give you. I should probably add gold rewarded in the same vein, right? But I didn't think of that until just now. So, HP, MP, strength, intelligence, vitality, which is defense, and then this is not used yet, but here's an array for abilities. If I don't want any abilities, then you just leave it blank. And that should work fine. Coming over here to another JSON file. This is the leaders on the map. So when we fight the Lost Legion or the Rock Crab, it knows that these are the valid positions, or formations I should say, for fighting Lost Legion. So take a look at this. So this is 3 skeletons in a Lost Legion, 2 Lost Legions, or 1 and 1. And then this position, this is all rough, and they're not exactly laid out perfectly yet, but these positions correspond to this, which is a coordinate where we draw the monsters. This seems to be working really well. I'm excited to do the next step and actually bring these guys to life. A couple things that I have to figure out with these monsters still, if we can bounce back to Godot, is one thing I'll show you. Let's go back to Universal Monster node by itself. There is a collision box. Can you see this? Is that the main one? I think it is. See this tiny collision box? It's not so good when I change to the crab. So I'm going to have to put some logic there that has to do with what's the size of the monster? Am I this size or this size? Then give me, you know, change my collision box. I don't know if there's a more clever way to do that. And then I also got to think about, and this goes doubly so for the next part, but it also applies to the field map. More applies to the battle map. Is if there's anything that's unique, right? Animations that give a monster more personality, then I got to think about how I want to handle those exceptions. So right now, I'm just not, right? There's nothing like that. Aside from the move list, which I guess would be pretty common, right? Like for unique animations, I don't have a system yet. And I think I will need a system, but maybe I won't. It depends. It's going to make things more complicated when I have monsters that have to do more unique things. So, something to think about for the next one, right? Another big part of this update, that was the damage numbers, right? Now, to calculate the actual damage itself, that's not too bad. The math to do it, it's rather simple to, you know, act against the monster's defense and all that. The hard part was to get the animation right. So let's check on our crab friend up here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, okay? Where are you, buddy? Okay. See that? You see the way the 33 just popped up, and it was kind of like 3, right? To do that, I had to take the number. The damage number was 33. I had to take the number and turn it into a 3 and a 3. And this supports over, you know, up to 9999, so like 4 digits. And that was actually pretty difficult. So this is what that damage function looks like. Obviously, there's like a couple more functions involved somewhere. But we're just, you know, we're setting... Oh, error. This is the position, the amount of damage, and is it critical? And that gets decided in the monster node. I'm not sure if that's the right place to do that, is critical hit and monster defense calculation, but I don't know, it's just where I did it. I thought it made sense since it's all the monster stats are in there. We did a bunch of stuff like this too. So I added a force feedback bus so I can send little vibrations. And that happens when I attack. You can't really experience that through a YouTube video. But camera events. So you notice when I attack 2, the camera sort of like will just jump in a little, right? That effect may be too nauseating. I'm not sure. But I needed to do some little camera thing so you really feel the impact of the hit. Then we did an interactive event, so like a prompt, not kind of like a QTE, but more like a press A to pick up the thing or open the door. And you might remember we did do this in, I think, our second video, the dungeon one, where like we did a thing and it did a thing to unlock a door, and then it did a prompt and whatever. So I sort of wrote on top of that system, which means I'm going to have to go back and refactor that when we get back there. But this should be much better. Here's some of that party leader stuff. There's some battle stuff in here. So, lots of cool stuff. You will notice my print statements and my debugger are out of control. Unfortunate, because I think a video or two back I got it down to 0 for both the print statements and the log. But I guess when you do a whole bunch of new features, this is just going to happen. And I use a lot of print statements in my development, because I'll go and I'll say, a lot of times I'll do like a first part of a function. I'll just be like, okay, check, is the value coming in correctly? Or, you know what, because for me, it helps prevent a lot of like errors as I go, right? So do like the first part, just get the values coming in, print the values, check, is that working? Okay, then do the next step, you know? I do a lot of that with the print statements. Now I gotta clean them all up. Let's talk about our character here and this controller. So if you remember previous videos, we had an animation issue that would show up only when I use this. Alright, and I can move around with it. Before, I can move around with the arrow keys, no issue. He always runs, but it's like a control setup thing, right? He only runs. But when I use this, and especially when I was turning, it would glitch out for a minute. I figured what that is. I'm going to do a diagram for you and put it on the screen. But more or less, when the analog was rotated in a diagonal position, it would communicate a value to the animation system that was too low. And what I had to do was just like way bump up those values. And that solved most of the issues there. I worked on the collision or something a little bit too. That's the first thing I did. I can't even remember all the things I changed. And I think the only issue with the character now is a layering issue when the scene starts. That it doesn't, the sword's like over him. But it once you move, it fixes, right? So, huge improvement just on the visuals of the animation here. So, what's left on this list? Not much. Most of this stuff is either audio stuff, which I need to do like an audio specific run and just really work on like the track switching and the balance of all the sounds, add new sounds and all that. And then the rest of this list is just stuff I think would be cool, like a different way of opening a treasure chest and certain certain sort of environments and stuff. So probably gonna put this aside for a video or two. And what I want to work on next are obviously the next part of the battle system, where we get really into the gameplay and, you know, the different button presses, the timing, the action elements that I talked about that will be more like Xenogears or Expedition 33. And I also want to do like an environment update on this map, focused mostly on this map. Which is why this map looks kind of nice already, because I sort of started, right? I want to do beach stuff. Come down here for a sec. I want to make it so like you can do stuff like climb on this rock. I'm going to put a little treasure here. I want to... Let's see. I started working on critters. Which I call critters, which are little like animals that'll be animated in the map. So I'm going to give him an AI so he like scurries away and make a bunch of them, right? And you'll notice there's a little one of the big one up here. So there's a bunch of stuff like that I want to add. As I mentioned, waves, ocean. I really want to do that. It's a hard thing to do, I think, but I have a good idea of what I want to do. Fishing can wait months and months. So I think the next 2 or 3 videos for this will focus on this game. And then I'm going to be switching to some smaller games. I've been working on, just on paper, concepts of games that should each take a couple months. And the idea is to be able to like have something that I can put on Steam and all that. And also practice a few certain key things, mostly art, believe it or not. And, you know, like, and try different sort of techniques that I don't need to try in here. And this way I can have some games out that aren't for some company, right? They're my own. And I really want that. So, a couple more videos on this. Then we're going to take a break for a month or two. And then we'll bounce back and forth to go. We'll go between other games and RPG. So, I think that's about it for now. If you like this video, actually like it with the button, alright? Subscribe, because I've been turning out a video like this at least once a month. I hope to increase that frequency to every 2 weeks, but this time period was a little hard, in particular because, you know, summer holidays and I had family over. It cost me at least a week of development. I'm not complaining, but knocks you off course, you know? So, that's about it for now. I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. So what do you think so far? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon.